which we did in the beginning of our courtship, right? I would watch George work on a car for hours, even though I have no interest, but just be with him. I kid you not. And now I don't know if I would do that. So I'm just being real, so that's why.
But you did do it, remember? I changed the brakes in the car. She
and
stood
it was
out there.
so hard. But we're being honest, right? And this is why it's going to take work. It's going to take cultivation. It's going to take me, doing it because I know it means a lot to him. So thank you, Rich. It seems like such a simple thing, yet it's not. What about Matt and Sarah's table? What did you come up with?
So we talked about being intentionally spontaneous. Vince mentioned that that's something that he makes sure that he does, and then you don't fall back into, monotony, of anything. And we talked about intentionally thinking about your spouse throughout the day, kind of like when you're dating. It's all you can think about when you get to be with that person later. And so if you intentionally think about them throughout the day, and then that kind of generates some romance when you get home to see them.
Very good. I love the intentionality of thinking of your spouse. Because yes, we're around many other people during the day, and we, just as Pastor Matt shared last week, we need to guard our hearts and make sure that we stay away from anything that will lead us astray. So we need to make sure that our spouse is on the forefront of our mind and cultivate that. So very excellent point. Co and Tina, over here, what did you guys come up with?
So I get up really early for work. So sometimes I get up extra early to get a foot massages while she's sleeping.
Wow. Way to set the bar, Co. All the guys are like, thanks, Co. So again, how amazing is that? Co, we all know how precious those early morning minutes are in the morning. So the fact for someone to do that already says a lot. But he's selflessly doing something for Tina because, again, it's the act of showing her, I care, and first thing in the morning, I'm here to meet your needs. And that's only going to breathe great things in Tina's heart. Right off the bat, as her husband leaves for the day, she's thinking, wow, what an amazing guy I have. He does care about my needs. I'm here taking care of the baby all day, but, he has reminded me that I am still the one for him. So, way to go. That's amazing. Anyone else at this table have anything to add?
Not after that.
I'm glad we reserved you for last, Well, you guys came up with great, thinking good things about your spouse. Again, Pastor George talked about, maybe you're hitting a rough patch in your marriage right now, which we all go through those. Normal, but we have the ability to think good things about our spouse. We can sit there and fume about the things that drive us crazy day in and day out, but that will get us nowhere. It'll whittle away at our marriage and the foundation of your marriage. But if you determine yourself to think good things about your spouse and those things that attracted them to you in the very beginning, those things are still there. Even if you just have to sit there one day and just stare at your spouse and admire the things that used to endear you towards them, when you first met them. That's cultivating that romance. So, you guys pretty much hit them all. What? There were two things to focus on: imagination and environment.
So we each of the things that we've talked about today around the tables that you guys came up with probably got started just because you spent some time thinking, what can I do that would show my spouse that I love him? The foot massages, right? I don't know that was something that she, you may have woke up early and said, give me a foot massage today. And I don't know if you love me, right? But use some imagination. And we all have the ability to use our imagination to think, how can I show my spouse I love them? And we have to use that. Imagination, I believe, is a gift from the Lord. Our Creator is that. He is a creator. He made everything out of nothing, right? Imagination was used when God created this world. And what an incredible imagination that He has, right? I mean, look at the world around us. We could spend our whole lives studying just one aspect of nature and not really get to know everything about that one area. There is so much to learn in the world because God is creative. He is imaginative. And that is something that God has also given to us. You know, the Bible says that we were made in His likeness. God breathed His Spirit into us. We have His Spirit in us. We are like Him in that way that we can be creative. Right? Use our imagination to show our spouse that we love them. We may think of ourselves on one side of, if we were thinking about imagination as a scale, you know, this person is super creative, right? I mean, look at Pastor Harold. Think of Pastor Harold and that cool little drumming thing that he did with the drummer boy during the Christmas Spectacular performance. You know, to think about how he was going to put that together and how the song would come out and how his voice would sound. That's a lot of imagination, right? To think, well, I could never do that, you know. I need to go to Pastor Harold to find out how I can show my wife I love her. What would you come up with? You know, because he's really creative. Some of us, you know, we would think that, you know, he's more creative or I'm less creative. We all have the ability to be creative. So we shouldn't say just because we think this one person's more creative than us that we can't be creative. We still need to use our creative juices to show our spouse that we love them. And, you know, sometimes we'll hit a home run. There's been some times when I've done things that I think, I'm going to show Edeen I really, really love her. I'm going to do this one thing. And she's like, oh, thank you, but I don't like that, you know. So that's okay if you don't hit a home run every time. Don't let that discourage you. Continue to use your imagination when showing your spouse that you love them. And then as you continue to do these things, the frequency and the intensity of which you use your imagination will also help to cultivate that in-love experience with your spouse. So the other thing is environment. Dean.
So environment, it's very important to think about environment when you're trying to fall in love or trying to keep that romance alive in your marriage. For a couple to fall in love, the environment needs to be just right. We think back, I remember when I was growing up in the church, and I remember before I was allowed to date, I could go on youth group trips with a group. So even though there was a guy in that group, George, that I liked, it wasn't like we were on a date because my parents and most parents know it's the act of getting two people alone that creates that environment for romance, and it takes it to a whole nother level. But when you're in a group of people, pretty much keeps it a sterile environment for the most part. Do you understand? So in going along with that concept, we're thinking of moving away from group dates with our spouses and going into the one-on-one time with them. Whether you have children in the house, whether you have these high-demanding jobs, whether you are in school right now, whatever is pulling of your time, we need to be creative and creating that environment for romance. That means alone time. Alone time doesn't mean expensive. It means a walk alone, maybe around the block, or even watching a movie together and holding hands. What else? Husbands cleaning the house. I didn't put that on there, but hey, that works too. We talked about hugging, and I mean real hugging, not like the church brother sister hug. Hey, how you doing? I mean, you know, if there's anyone you can give a real good hug to, it's your spouse. You know, embrace them and hold them and let them know, you know, look, I love you, and let the, you know, the romantic feelings start to happen. I'm keeping it PG in here because we have some kids in the room. So again, the kissing, you know, with passion, desire, not just like a little peck on the cheek, you know, but come on, show this person that this is the one that you desire. Dim lights, nice dinners, all doable. Avoid boredom. We want to avoid the mundane. So again, the cool thing about romance is once upon a time we were all, you know, we didn't have much money when we began dating, but again, we found creative ways to create that environment. And so that's very doable now. Touching, eye contact, and Pastor George mentioned, be well groomed. If you're going to come towards this person, come on, bring your A game, you know, use a brush a little bit and show them that you are important enough for me to bring forth my best. So, what are the enemies to falling in love? Nagging. Although husbands don't really do it, sometimes wives do it, but husbands can do it as well. But nagging will definitely kill the mood, kill the romance. So we want to stay away from that. A person who nags may get what they are nagging about, but they sacrifice something valuable. So we always want to remember that too.
So in summary, as we use our imagination, one idea I had was, that the author actually talked about was just picturing your spouse in their best light possible. If you're thinking about them, if you're sitting in front of a movie screen and your spouse is on that screen, and they just think about all of the positive qualities of them. They're a hero. They think about the positive aspects of what attracts you to them and focus on those things. Sometimes the longer we're with our spouse, the more we focus on flaws or the things that disappointed us or the things that irritate us, right? Instead of focusing on all those things that actually attracted us to them in the first place. And as we use our imagination, focus on those things and dwell on those things. And then don't let anybody talk negatively about your spouse, right? We're talking about the positive sides. You're leading the way by thinking about the positive things about your spouse. That's going to help you fall in love. Don't let anybody speak negatively. That includes yourself. That includes your children. That includes your mother, your father, your friends. Don't allow anybody to focus or to say anything about the negative aspects of your spouse. Protect them. And make sure that everybody knows about the great things about your spouse. Brag about the things that you love about them, about the positive things about them. Talk about those things. Boy, my wife talks about things that she likes about me, things that she sees that I did well, or maybe there's something that she thinks is attractive about me, and she says that out loud. It just really, makes me fall in love with her too, all over again. And so it just really makes my day. And so we can do that for our spouse. It's a gift that we can give them, right? So we are intentionally wanting to fall in love with our spouse again. These are things we can do. Imagination. Use our imagination, and then environment. Create the right environment so that we can fall in love, because falling in love is very important in every marriage. So that is the Eros love. So we've learned about 2 words so far, epithemia, and we've learned about Eros. Next week we're going to learn about the storge love. And the storge love is the gift of belonging to each other. So next week we'll continue this series as we move along in the 5 ways to say, I love you.
Go forth and be romantic.
Go for it.
I have a whole other week to get it right. One last prayer request that I can think of right now is Michael and Tasha Freitas. Their baby's in the hospital right now. Little Chloe, she's been in there. This is her 2nd day. She has RSV, which is really severe for infants. So she's had trouble breathing. She's on oxygen. So they've taken the tubes out today, and as long as she maintains healthy breathing levels, she can come home possibly today, maybe tomorrow. But please pray for them. As you know, it's been a hard time for them. Their boys are at home, and her family's in Oregon. So right now, as you close in prayer, we encourage you just to close in prayer around the table and ask others around the table if there's a need that needs to be prayed for, and if you would just mind saying a covering for them as well. Thanks, guys.
I saw her in the service.
So you guys are split.
It's gonna be little Betty. And do you know what you're having yet? Or you're not finding out? Oh, you're going to find out? Oh, it's a girl. They're having a little boy. What about you, Becky and Don?
Don, yeah, he did prayer in the hospital again, but he had some sort of sickness.
How long have you been here?
He had some symptoms, so it might be good.
And you go to Ghana, or where you go back to Mars.
Thus far, everything's been good, but
Yeah.
that figure out whether he's causing like a lack of.